Take a breath. I am Lisa Hurley, activist, author, and community builder. Welcome to Space to Exhale, the podcast, weekly inspiration for self-love and soft living. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Space to Exhale, the podcast, a safe, serene sanctuary where we focus on high vibrations, affirmations, soft living, and self-care. I am your host, Lisa Hurley. I'm a 3-time Anthem Award-winning activist, a Reiki master, and the author of Space to Exhale, a handbook for curating a soft, centered, serene life. I am here to help us all do just that. Relax, take a breath, say no to hustle culture, and yes to a life of ease. My hope and dream is for us all to curate lives that we don't feel we need a break from. Today, I am super excited to introduce you to my guest, Liku Amadi Esquire. Hello, Liku.
Hello, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Folks, y'all know we're gonna get into it soon. Before we do, let me introduce you to Liku properly so you know who it is you are getting all of these gems and expertise from. So, Liku is an award-winning attorney and 3-time published academic author. She graduated magna cum laude from Thomas Jefferson School of Law and had the honor of serving as the first Black editor-in-chief on California's first all-Black women law review board. As a first-generation Tanzanian, Bay Area native, and mother of 2, Liku blends legal expertise with the practical, forward-thinking solutions that only come from managing family and work life. Her goal is to help you build a proactive legal foundation that supports your vision and growth so you can lead with peace of mind and security instead of worrying about whether your business is protected. It is. And let me just say that as one of Liku's clients, in addition to being Liku's friend, I'm her client, and I can 100% co-sign on all of that. 10 stars out of 5, highly recommend. That's all I have to say on that.
No argument there.
Okay, so we're gonna get into the discussion soon, Liku. But you've been watching and listening and so on, so you know that we always start with a moment, a collective exhale. Let us take a moment, everyone. Get grounded, get settled, and take a moment to exhale together. So we're going to take a few deep breaths. If you wish to, you can close your eyes, relax your jaw, relax your forehead, relax your shoulders. Try and get as calm and relaxed as possible. And now we're going to inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Once more, inhale. And a nice deep exhale. All right, yes. So we got our energy together. We are settled and we are ready to have this conversation. And so, Liku, today we're talking about having it all, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, and that's something that the topic of having it all is something that's very important to us both. And so that's why I want to dig into it today. Now, you've been dealing with this topic in terms of like your podcast for a couple of years now. And so my first question is, having it all has often been used to measure Black women against what seems to be an impossible standard. So how do you, as the again, attorney, wife, mom, all those different roles, sister, daughter, all those different things, how do you define having it all, and how has that definition evolved over time?
Yeah, like you said, it's a standard that we're held to. So the way that I define having it all and all Black women should is by my own standards, right? We have been raised, grown up, gone through school, work, jobs, having children, taking care of parents, all the things based on other people's expectations of us, based on stereotypes, based on standards. And we just need to curate our own stories, right? How do I want to do this? How does this make me feel, right? Where do I find peace and joy and fulfillment in this, right? So that's how I define it. Is I need to tell my own story, which sounds great, sounds beautiful, definitely easier said than done, but worth it. And to the second part of your question, like how has this evolved over time? I love that part because it isn't any just like one thing. Like, okay, having it on means you're doing this, you're doing that, and you have this. It means that seasons change, right?
Mm,
And I having it all look way different for me before I had kids, when it was just me and the hubby. We were chilling, growing professionally. And then it looked different when kid number one came. It looked different when I got pregnant again. It looked different when kid number two came. And now kid number two is here. And I'm a business owner. And it looked different, way back when I wasn't a business owner. So seasons change. And my definition of having it all has evolved with those changes.
mhm. Okay. And so another thing that you and I both talk about a lot is what other people call work-life balance and what
Mhm.
I have chosen to call life-work balance,
Yeah.
because I believe that life comes first. And if
Mhm.
we put life first, that immediately changes it literally does change the balance, the equilibrium, and how much weight we put on different aspects of our lives. So how do you, I guess a lot of it comes down to what other people expect of us. Like
Mhm.
many of us are trained and socialized to think about others first, put
Yes.
other people's needs first. And so again, in all of your different roles, not forgetting, of course, your role of just being you,
Mhm.
just being Liku. Like, how do you manage the tension between society's expectations and the needs of your spirit and your soul?
Yeah, I think you said it. Of course, like the role of being me. Like, what's making me happy? What's bringing me joy? What's bringing me peace? How do I rest? What does my quality of life look like?
Mhm.
Right? I think that is that's the driver, the foundation of anything that we're going to do. So again, easier said than done, but I've practiced making decisions and thinking about things from a lens of, how am I showing up here? Am I tired? Am I stressed? Am I being pulled in too many different ways? Like, does this align with my goals, right? Are me and my family straight? What is this doing for my business? And just how I feel overall. So I think that's the answer right there, is just putting me at the center of everything before I have to take care of everyone else, everything else, and consider all the other things that are going on in society.
Mm. Oh wow, that's deep. That's deep.
Yeah,
Because so we really are not trained to do that.
we
Put
are not.
ourselves at the center.
We are not. We're trying to
What?
do the opposite.
We are trained to do the opposite. I mean, just what you just said there is so, it's like revolutionary. It
Mhm,
really is revolutionary. It's a soft and gentle revolution, right?
mhm.
Putting ourselves at the center.
Right.
So important. So important. Um, So when you mentioned, okay, your evolution of, okay, before you were single, then you were, like a young, professional couple, then,
Mm,
kid number one, kid number two. Um, and you talked about checking in with yourself. How do those check-ins go in terms of checking in with yourself during the different seasons to
mm,
see, okay, where's Liku? Is Liku at the center of Liku's universe? Is Liku at the center? How are you feeling? How are you coping? Are you tired? Are you doing good? Do you need to do more of what you're doing to stay in a good state? How are you doing those check-ins? Like, is it like a journaling thing? Is it
mm.
a spiritual prayer thing? Like, how are you doing it?
All the things.
All
It's
of it,
all
right? Give
the
us the secret
but
sauce. Give us the secret sauce.
first and foremost, it is God. It is
Mm,
God, right? My relationship with God has developed over time. And more particularly, this whole journey started for me when I left corporate and started my own business. Because the reason I left corporate was because my quality of life was suffering. I was like, I paid too much money to go to school. I'm too young. I have too much life to live to be stressed like this, right? And just under somebody's thumb. And it was during the pandemic. So, that was a whole nother level of something. But that I had to check in with myself and really just be like, I plan to be a mom in the future. Like, am I having fun? Like, how am I feeling about this? And I wasn't okay with it. So I had to leave and at least try. Right. I had to try starting my own business, which is another story because I didn't even want to do that ever in the first place. Right. But
really?
ever, I came out of law school and people were like, oh, you're going to start your own practice, start your own law firm. I was like, no, I'm about to clock
Wow.
into somebody's building, do this work,
Mm.
collect this check, and,
And be
repeat.
gone.
Yeah, and be gone. And I knew it would be hard work. I knew it would be time consuming,
Right.
but I just didn't realize how soul sucking, for lack of a better phrase, that it would be. And when I did realize it, I was like, it's worth it to take a chance on myself and see if I like it. And that was the best decision that I ever made. And I was very fortunate to have my then boyfriend turned fiance, now husband support. So
Mhm.
that was critical for me too. But that was the first time I really like checked in with myself. And then I started going to therapy, and therapy gave me the tools to really check in with myself and, learn to assess how I'm feeling and what's coming up for me and how to deal with certain situations and manage my emotions. And then I also had a life coach who was, who is a man of God. And so
Mm.
talking to him through business development and like all of that also aligned and really helped me check in with myself. How am I feeling? How am I feeling as a business owner and showing up, right? How is my personal state impacting my business and how I serve my clients and my energy online and how I market and sell my services? Like all of that started to connect. But I think what the most important thing has been from day one, and I mean day one since like I was born,
Right.
or
Oh, wow.
like is writing, journaling.
Oh, I love
Um,
that.
when my father passed, I was about 9 years old, and I really just tapped into journaling about how I feel. Sometimes they turned into poems. I started writing a few raps here and there. You know what I'm saying? Me and Nicki
Love
Minaj was
it.
going neck and neck for a minute.
Right, right.
But it's such a powerful way to check in with yourself. It's private, it's intimate. You don't have to answer to anyone or think about anyone else. You can literally write how you're feeling. You can do it for as long or as short as you
Mhm.
want to. You get all of those thoughts out of your head and actually onto paper, which makes you feel less stressed or just less heavy, or just gives you lighter weights to carry throughout the day. So I've had a lot of tools to help me check in with myself, but writing has definitely been the most effective and the most honest.
Oh, I love that. I really love that. And as a writer myself and
Mhm.
someone who I don't want to say believe in journaling like it's a religion. That's not what I mean, but I believe in the efficacy of it,
Yes.
in its utility, its ability to heal, and like you said, get all the gunk out of your head, the racing thoughts and the confusion and all of that. Even sometimes, frankly, some of the big emotions. And I'm not only talking about sadness or anger or, I don't know, jealousy or whatever they might happen to be. Those emotions too, but also big happy emotions,
Yeah,
right?
gratitude.
With the gratitude, all of that, writing it down makes such a huge difference. And I actually find that when my life is going, I think we all have an ideal life somewhere in our heads,
Oh yeah.
right? Right.
Mhm.
And so whenever I am very close to living that ideal life, which for me also involves journaling at the
Mhm.
beginning and end of my day, like 6 a.m., 6 p.m. When I'm able to do that, like I'm a whole different person.
Yeah.
And I sleep better, I'm
Mhm.
more creative, and you're able to just cope with everything and everyone, it must be said, because people be peopling, right?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. We know.
Without fail, people are gonna people, right? And so it really, really helps with that. Journaling is absolutely one of my favorite sort of self-help, soft living, mental
Yes.
wellness. It just checks so many boxes, and a creativity catalyst as well. You
Yeah.
know,
I
yeah. You mentioned writing poems, and it's
Mhm.
interesting. So now I'm like imagining you. I don't know, maybe I don't know, sitting in your bed or on your couch, whatever. Because I used to do the same thing. Like
Mhm.
I've written hundreds of poems and songs, whatever, but often they came while I was journaling, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Very interesting.
I love how you said, your like the course of your day changes. At
Yes.
the beginning of the day, ideally, you would journal at the end of the day. And those are such, especially at the beginning of the day, those are such important times because now with, social media, internet, you just wake up, roll over, check your phone, and there's this person asking for your attention, this person trying to sell you something, this advertisement, this thing that the current administration is doing. Like there's just so much out there. So you really just get that time for yourself. Like it's your own
Yeah.
world. Like you get to focus on how you feel, your intentions for the day, pour out some things that have been in your head, like express
Mhm.
gratitude, joy, those good emotions. So I love that ideal. Like journal in the morning, be with
Yeah.
myself, and at the end of the day, close it out the same way.
Yeah. Closed out the same way because and even on those, excuse me, excuse me, y'all, I'm gonna just warn you, I'm gonna be coughing every now and then because I have a cold that will not go away. Yes, I
Oh,
went to the doctor. Yes, I went to the doctor, and they gave me something, but oh, it is holding on. So excuse me if I
I'm
cough a bit.
sorry.
But yeah, so just being able to uh, you know, journal, and as part of that,
Hmm.
asking for help as part of your journaling, because yes, you want to get, I call it getting the gunk out, like I said, get all those all the muck out of your brain cells, but also use it as um almost like a supplication,
Hmm.
right? Sometimes, like God or whoever and whatever you believe in. um Liku, I believe that you're a person of faith,
Yeah.
of Christian faith, as am I as well. And so, I often address my prayers and supplications to God. I address my gratitudes to God as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? But there's nothing wrong also with asking for help, because in doing so, you're opening the door for having it all, right? That
Absolutely.
is all part of it. Like you're opening the door to say, hey, this would make me, my life, my loved ones, and so
Mhm.
on feel better, live more gently and more sweetly, and be more in alignment with what we desire for our lives.
Right.
And so that's a great way to use journaling as well.
I agree. I definitely, there's prayers all up in my journal. Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. So I know we didn't plan to talk about this, but will there ever be a book from from my amazing, from Liku T Amadi Esquire?
You know what's crazy? Dang, did I tell you this? I actually wrote a book during the pandemic.
What?
I wrote a whole book because I had some stuff to say. The
Clearly.
pandemic was a very reflective
Hmm.
time, I think, for the world. And then just, me personally. So I actually wrote out a whole book and then I saved it somewhere on my computer. I didn't intend to like publish it or anything, but I just
Mhm.
had to get some things out. I'm sure the book is underdeveloped, it could probably use like some more stuff, but I did write something, and right now I do not see that in my future. Who
Mm.
knows? That might change. Seasons change, goals
Yes.
change, intentions change. Right now, I am trying to show up for my family, my
Mhm.
clients, and Black women worldwide. So if
Mm.
later that includes me writing a book as to my learnings and my beliefs, or just tools and strategies as to how Black women can have it all, or start to implement this belief and these concepts and these practices in their life, then I'm all for it. I'm all
Yeah, because listen, you have the podcast, and for those who are just joining us, um, Liku's podcast is called Black Women Can Have It All. It is a private podcast. It is not my it is sorry, no, it is one of my favorite podcasts out there. I actually don't listen to many. I don't listen to many, but this is one that I listen to. And apart from anything else, Liku just has one of those voices that you want to listen to. Her voice makes you want to listen. She's like the little old me. Yes, little old you. No, but really, and then the content, I really, it just resonates. I resonate with all the content, all the episodes, all the topics. And so, one of my questions for you is, how did you? Because you and I started working together, as attorney client, and then grew into friends. But when we
Yes.
first started working together, you had not yet started the podcast.
Mhm.
And so, what led you to start a podcast, period,
Mhm.
and to start a podcast unapologetically called Black Women? Because you didn't call it You Can Have It All. You
Mhm.
didn't say people can have it all. You didn't say it's possible to have it all. You said Black women can
Mhm.
have it all. So, yeah, tell me where that came from.
Um, Man, it came from life, as do all things, right? Um, I actually it launched the week of my birthday, or the week before my birthday in 2024. And I just wanted to do something for myself. Prior to
Mhm.
starting my own business, I actually started a community organization out here in the Bay Area called Tribe. Pre-pandemic, where we had monthly events. Tribe was specifically for Black women, career professionals, and business owners to come together and help elevate one another, right? All while kikiing, looking good, feeling good, eating good, but then also having really important conversations, which we call tribe talks. And it was a whole vibe for a few months. The pandemic came through. We couldn't have any more in-person events. We transitioned to virtual, and ultimately the virtual wasn't what I wanted. So I had to be honest and reflect and say, this is not what I envisioned for a community of Black women. Let me just pause here, and then I'll come back later in the future. And then later in the future, I had kids. I started business. I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to do this, but it's always been on my heart. So at the very least, let me do something. And so that's when the Black Woman Can Have It All private podcast came to be. And I wanted to, I wanted the name to be specific to Black women. I wanted Black women to know that this was for them. I wanted other people to know that this was not for them. But of course, if they have Black women in their lives, they might, hey, listen to this podcast. It's for you. And then I also wanted it to be private, because I believe that Black women deserve intentional spaces curated just for them. The world is already in our business enough as it
Right?
is, trying to tell us what to do. Like, we just needed that space. However, I didn't share this with you, but I recently made the podcast public, right? So
Ooh.
private. It's now public. It's available on Apple and Spotify. Go ahead, search, listen. Got 65 episodes, new episodes coming. But the reason I did that is because I also I took a break from dropping new podcast episodes this year. And then when I came back, I was like, I need way more Black women to tap into the idea that we can have it all, so long as we define what having it all looks like. I need more Black women to understand that this is not just a dream or a vision that they can have, but it's actually something that they can start practicing today. It doesn't have to be in 5, 10 years. It doesn't have to be after you're healed. You can actually start taking those steps right now. And I was like, it has to be public. It has to be public. And I still have the private element of having a subscriber, an email subscription list where I'm privately sharing resources and, going to be curating some experiences and doing some other things that are exclusive to that list. So it still has that private,
Right.
intimate, intentional element. But as far as the message goes, that needs to reach at least 1 million people in the next 3 days. Maybe not 3 days. Who knows? God work is amazing. But
5 days. 5 days. We'll give it 5 days.
right? It needs to reach more Black women.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
where we are now.
Yes, interesting. I mean, this is your episode, not mine. But what I will say is that I am in the midst of a similar process,
Hmm.
in terms of the Great Exhale.
Okay.
So, but you and I talk,
Yeah,
as
we're
friends
gonna talk.
and
Yes.
as attorney clients. So we'll be talking in all the aspects. But some changes, I have some changes in mind because I understand what you mean when you say more of us need this work and need these resources.
Yes.
I also want to take a slight detour, not really a detour, but I want to say here something that I say often, folks. um Liku has a podcast. It's called Black Women Can Have It All, right? I have a podcast as well. When I was writing my book and I was compiling resources
Mhm.
for readers and so on, guess now, yes, of course, I included my podcast. I also included Liku's podcast. I'm saying this to say everything does not have to be, it's okay to collaborate. It's okay to, amplify other people. This is always possible. And so y'all will see it will be a recurring theme, right? Me and my friend, or probably anybody that comes on this podcast, is we have amplified each other in different ways. We've helped and supported each other in different ways.
Mhm.
And I just want to see more and more of that happening out there. So it's not a case of if Liku has a podcast, then I can't have a podcast, or vice versa. We support each other. And I
Awesome.
really, really, yeah, I really, really love that. So I'm excited that, Black Women Can Have It All is going to be even bigger and badder and beautifuler.
Yes.
Right? So I am looking forward to that. And the next thing I want to do actually, as you know, every episode I read an excerpt from the book.
Mhm.
And, back to the topic of amplifying each other's voices. Liku is actually one of the people who, contributed a quote,
Let's talk about, yes, I did.
right?
Yes.
Contributed a quote for my book. And so I'm going to read an excerpt from the chapter. It's chapter 10. It's called, of course, Curate Your Soft Life,
Mhm.
because we're talking about curating your soft life, which is part and parcel of having it all.
Mhm.
And so this excerpt is going to end with a quote from the amazing Liku. So I'm going to read that now, and then we're going to, get back into the discussion and talk about all this stuff some more. So a quick cough before we start. Listen, this cold has me in an absolute. Listen, let me drink some water. Because this cold is trying to end me, but I'm not going to let it. Okay. So,
Exactly.
exactly. So, what is soft living? Unsurprisingly, Black people coined the term. We always create the coolness and the hotness. The phrase originated within the Nigerian social media influencer culture. Despite the prevalent images of the African continent displayed by mainstream media, there is another side: luxury, limos, lavishness. For some, therefore, soft living comprises elements of enjoying the spoils of wealth: opulent mansions, designer clothes, high end cars, upscale restaurants, five-star hotels, first class flights. Better yet, make it a private jet moment. I am not among that number, but I believe that people have the agency to define things for themselves. It's always interesting to me to watch Nollywood movies because that's the lifestyle that is usually portrayed. It's unabashedly upscale, and I'm not mad at it. I say yes to showing range and pushing back against the dominant narrative. Housekeepers, chauffeurs, chefs, groundskeepers. I say yes to it all. To be honest, for a lot of people on the African continent, that's just regular life. It's not even considered a luxury. That's why telling one's own stories is so important. Colonizers will never portray us as conquerors. While I have no issue with it, I'm 100% here for Black girl luxury. There's more to living a soft life than a focus on conspicuous consumption and material acquisitions. In fact, it doesn't have to include them at all. Comfort and ease don't have to be expensive. In my view, soft living is primarily about leading with self love, treating yourself gently, prioritizing your peace, and embracing rest, all of which can be done no matter the size of your budget. Of course, while soft living has its proponents, clearly I'm one of them, it also has its detractors. There's a faction out there that gets big mad at the mere idea of people, especially Black women, wanting to live easier, more luxurious lives, or actually doing so. I remember back in 2020, at the height of the panorama, one of my favorite influencers, Paula Sutton of Hill House Vintage fame, was attacked by a woman of pallor who angrily announced that she was leaving the app, formerly known as Twitter. Why? Because Miss Sutton had had the temerity to post an impeccably styled photo of herself. Let me check my notes here. Having a picnic in her own back garden. She was minding her business, wearing her broad brimmed sun hat, bothering no one. Apparently, Auntie Paula, as she is sometimes affectionately called, unmistakably melanated, fabulously outfitted, elegantly seated on her lawn behind her Georgian home in the British countryside, had offended this person so much that she felt she had to get off the internet. I mean, good riddance. But also, it's wild to me how much some groups are angered by Black women existing, or worse yet, living well. They're okay if we're showing up as the proverbial strong Black woman, if we are constantly laboring, if we are struggling, if we're living lives that they perceive to be inferior to theirs, if our worldly goods are believed to be non-existent or of poor quality, if we're going to work to clean their homes, raise their children, or report to them at an office. But heaven forbid that we live a life elevated. What really drove that white woman mad was that she did not feel that Paula or any Black woman should be owning that kind of home, wearing those kinds of clothes, living that kind of life. It's as if her internal dialogue was, why is this woman sitting on the picnic blanket instead of standing next to it, serving me? Epigenetics are a hell of a drug. But Paula Sutton is living that kind of life. Many of us are. Many of us have. We exist beyond the stereotypes. The number of conversations I've been a part of where the other party has used what I term the microaggressive you is truly troubling. What's the microaggressive you ask? It's when a Black person is having a regular conversation about regular things with a non-Black person who then proceeds to express disrespectful surprise that we have been anywhere or done anything. You own a car? You own a home? You went to Paris? You have a master's? Yes, these are all questions I have been asked. In Paula Sutton's case, had she been in actual conversation with the Karen in question, she might have been asked, you own this house? So annoying. In addition to the people who believe that Black women are undeserving of living well, there are those who think that soft living reeks of entitlement and laziness, to which I say, nope. And I also say, if it were based on entitlement, so what? Black women are entitled to rest and live gently. We are deserving. We are worthy. If there's one group that can never be accused of being lazy, it's us. We've been working. Our mothers have been working, our grandmothers been working, our great grandmothers in fields, factories, and offices, overtime, multiple jobs, side hustles, family, church, and community care, making space for others who turn around and squeeze us to the edges, advocating and voting for rights to benefit humanity only to be abandoned at the polls. Many of us currently work inhumane hours for mere pennies. So if we want to sit on a couch and relax, we're going to need y'all to leave us be. We're not being lazy. It's not in our DNA. It's just time for us to rest. Plus, our ancestors worked for free. Our rest counts as part of reparations. No matter what they try to make us believe, I am here to tell you that we, Black women, can have it all on our terms. We might not be able to have it all at the same time, but we can definitely make our dreams become a reality. We can live soft, secure, well supported lives. I believe this strongly, and so does Liku Amadi, founder and business attorney of Anasa Law Firm and host of the Black Women Can Have It All private podcast. She says, for far too long, society has dictated what Black women can do, who we can be, and what we can have in life. But Black women can have it all. And it is Black women who get to decide what having it all means. We can move from desire to design by curating our ideal life. We can be healed, healthy, and exhale, not out of exhaustion, but relief. Black women have more power than we think. It's a God given power. And once we wake up in that power, we can learn to live our version of having it all. Agreed, sis. Agreed.
We dang.
Yes, girl. That is one of
We
my.
got some good words. Oh my goodness. I started taking notes.
I saw you. I was like, wait.
It's like, wait, that
It's
was
one of my
good.
favorite parts of the book, and it just fits so perfectly. As I was going through, I'm like, I know exactly who needs to close out this chapter, who needs to be in this chapter, because that's the chapter that closes the book, right? And it really is about soft living and us having it all and all of it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Like I've read it already, but I'm just like, so many things are coming up. Number one, storytelling, right? Black women can have it all is largely about retelling our own stories. Because like you said, you go back to Nigeria, any African country that they show on TV is usually like the village, the slums, and those portions do exist. They definitely do exist. I've been
Mhm.
myself. However, there's a story that they're not telling, which
Yes.
is the mansions, the cars, the luxury, the full-time staff.
Mhm.
There's, they don't tell the riches story about,
Nope.
African people, about black people in the
Yeah.
United States, about the African diaspora, because they want the main story to be they're broke, they're lazy, they're intimidating, they're threatening, they're violent people, right? Like they want to curate that story. And I think black women, like those are the examples that black women can see, like, people back home, Paula, influencers, whether again
Mhm.
abroad or in the States, like people are actually curating their own lives. Like
Yeah.
it's not just an idea, it's not just something nice, a vision, a belief to have. Like there are examples. So just because those stories aren't being told as loudly by society doesn't mean that they don't exist, right? Which is why
Mhm.
it's even more important for people like you, for people like me, to make sure that other black women are hearing these messages. And I know there's a ton of other black women doing this work as well, but we have our own stories. We can recreate our own stories that actually serve us, because the stories that are being told now, these narratives, are not just about us, but they're against us, right? So we can have favorable stories that'll just uplift everyone. And that's just only point one that I have. I'll save the rest for subsequent conversations.
Oh, wait, wait.
Yeah.
I want to hear. I want to hear. Can I hear at least one more? Because it sounds so good. I saw you there, like
Okay.
taking copious notes.
I was like, I couldn't find anything. Here's an envelope. Let me, something. Let's see. Let's see. You know what? People will gaslight us and
Yes.
be so mad when they don't see us burn.
Mm-hmm.
They have
Ooh.
all these expectations and they put up all of these walls, these brick walls that they think we can't run through, these speed bumps that they think are going to slow us down, but like we still come out on the other side. Often bigger, better, more improved, more advanced, more smarter, more trendy, right? Like it's it's almost funny that we're even in this position. And I think that's where like black girl magic comes up, because it's like, you look at black women and everything that they're put through, all of these systems set up against them, systems set up for them to fail and have a hard time. And there certainly are black women who are having a hard time. Ultimately, we do come out at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And there somebody said, like, black positivity is a threat. Like, they be so mad at it. They be so mad at it. So that's just the thing that I wrote at the end. That
Yeah.
was my conclusion, that we are gaslit so much, but hardly do you ever see us burn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we're not going to allow ourselves to be
Mhm.
destroyed. It's just not going to happen. And not
Got it.
only are we, excuse me, not going to allow ourselves to be destroyed, we're also not going to allow each other to be destroyed, which
Absolutely.
gets into community. Now, I'm not talking about there is no such thing as perfection. Yet, are there sometimes issues? Absolutely. Caveat, caveat, caveat. So now we have all the caveats out of the way, but there's also the truth that there are friendships and relationships and nurturing communities like what you and I have. Everybody that was on the the book launch a couple of weeks ago on the 17th, right? So many of us know each other, get along well, support each other behind the scenes.
Right.
um there is a whole underground railroad, right, of community and support and friendships. And so one of my questions for you is, how have friendships and relationships, even mentorships, with
Mhm.
other black women help you reimagine what success looks like, what life work balance looks like, and what having it all looks like?
Yeah, man, relationships, community is so important. And on this journey, as I've grown and just become more aware of what I want, how I feel, that's of course poured into the intention that I set for the people around me, right? I need to be in a position where I can uplift other black women. I also need to be in a position where I can be uplifted by
Yeah.
other black women, right? Be a mentor, be a mentee. Um, and as far as friends and family and colleagues and professional relationships go, I've been just very a lot more intentional about which ones I pour into and how I pour into them versus just having a bunch of people around me, right?
Mm.
Because they say, and I don't even know who they is, but it's people,
It's a
folks
saying.
be
It's a
saying
saying. They be saying it though.
they
They
be
do be saying it.
saying them folks be talking about it, right? The five people closest to you, or who you spend the most time with, like, influences like what your life looks like and the trajectory of your life. And I increasingly take that seriously. So this idea of having it all means also having friendships and family relationships that bring me joy, that bring me peace,
Mhm.
right? That relationships where there's clarity, whole other conversation, where I know where I stand in those relationships, right?
Ooh.
Because all relationship dynamics are different. I was recently just talking about the B Simone podcast.
Can
That
you
was
listen? Can we pause for a minute and talk about that?
really
Because I don't, yeah, because I have only caught,
opinions.
I want to hear the opinions because I have caught bits and pieces because as you know, I tried to my best to avoid the drama, but this one was so big I couldn't like avoid it, and it was
Mhm.
actually quite
Same.
interesting. So I want to hear your opinions because I have opinions too. But please, as my guest, I invite you to share your opinions first, and let's get into it because it's important. It's
Mhm.
so important because this is what we're talking about. Friendship is not theoretical.
Right.
It is not theoretical. It's theoretical. Friend is yes, it is a noun, but more so it is a verb. And
Mhm.
so from that basis, what are your opinions? I want to hear them.
So my main overarching opinion um, is that we
Just say
live.
it. She's like,
I
let me take the Anasa Law Firm off of there. You just talk as legal.
So I think that as an audience, right? Because like it went viral, a lot of people saw it. So I went to go watch the full episode, and I feel like we had a huge miss when it comes to the fact that they were actually having a conversation. So I know that I have my personal feelings about each person and what they were saying. And I think that's what most of social media was reacting to. But what I saw was two best friends having a hard conversation live for the world to see. Like they looked at it and said, "Yep, publish," right? Which I think was super valuable because how many how many relationships do we have where we're not having those conversations but need to? Right? How many friendships, family relationships, works with relationships with colleagues and people that you work with, do we need to have open and honest conversations about, hey, this is how you've been making me feel lately? Or, you made this move and it makes you look like this. I didn't know if you were aware, just wanted to let you know, right?
Mhm,
This is how I feel like you've been as a friend. How
mhm.
do you feel like I've been as a friend? And those are not easy conversations to have at all. So I actually, despite my personal opinions about the actual content of the conversation, I respect the fact that they posted that for
Mhm.
people to see because that is what it looks like. And before this, I was saying, like, I appreciate when I know where I stand in my
Yes.
relationships because
Clarity.
exactly. Clarity is so important. It feels terrible to be in a friendship or romantic relationship, family relationship where you're walking on eggshells. You're thinking like, oh, she's probably annoyed or he's doing this or just like there's no clarity. But if you know, like, you know what? After this conversation, like you and me, we're good. We got to work on these two things, but we're good. And I feel a lot better than that. Like we can move forward. Or on the flip side, like this was a very valuable conversation. I think that our interactions need to be a little more limited, or you know what, like we're probably going to end the friendship here. Like it may not be the best outcome or the one that makes you feel good, but at least you have clarity and you
Yeah.
can move forward. So that's my main opinion about the conversation.
You're good. You're very good.
You know I am. You know I
I'm like, she is not going. But that is a valid part of your opinion. I receive it. I receive it. So I agree.
am.
Excuse me. I agree that I consider it extremely brave and of service of them to like you said, they took a decision and posted that. Me
Mhm.
personally, I would never, but they did, and like you said, it probably has helped and will help a lot of people.
Hopefully.
I am way too private. You know this about me. Like I do my best. I'm like, I want to hear the drama. I want to hear it. I want to know about it.
Same.
I'm not even acknowledging it unless it is absolutely necessary, you know.
Yeah.
However, and I'm talking about something that potentially might need to be publicized, or I don't know. It's just whatever it is. I really try to just keep my business out out of the public eye. So
Mhm.
I would never do something like that.
Me
I
either.
respect them. I respect them for doing that. Um, without really knowing, I'm gonna have to go, like you said, because I'm speaking, I will admit I'm speaking without the complete context because I have not watched the entire thing. I've watched excerpts. With
Mhm.
that said, the excerpts that I watched bothered me.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Me
They
too.
bothered me because excuse me, the parts I heard, and I don't know if I'm interpreting them correctly because, again, I have not seen the entire show. So I'm putting all those caveats out there. Me personally, I could not know that a good friend of mine,
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
can't say it as a lawyer, I'm going to say it though.
No, I agree with you. I already know what you're gonna say, and I
You know
agree.
what I'm going to say.
I agree.
I can't know that a good friend of mine is going to like, now, if I don't know, okay, fine, right? But if
Mhm.
I know that a good friend of mine, and even shoot, sometimes not even a good friend,
Yeah.
just somebody, because that can happen too. You see somebody, and they're going through something and you might help, right? But
Mhm.
but a good friend, I can't know that
Best
they're
friend.
your best friend. I can't relate. I know I'm running out of words and not really
No, I
being.
listen. I know. I hear
Yeah,
how you feel.
yes, it's distressing to my entire spirit because um we are positioned and trained and socialized to battle each other and
Mhm.
see each other as competition. I'm talking about women in general. I'm not talking, this is not even a racial thing, to be honest,
Mhm.
right? But so in general, I think women are pitted against each other practically from birth. You
Mhm.
know, who is, and it's often about, looks and shape and size and smarts and all of that stuff. And
Mhm.
but none of us, when you think about it, all of us are criticized for everything. So none of us apparently are good people, right? According to society. But so we're pitted against each other. But I do believe, again, in terms of having it all, in terms of living a soft life, in terms of curating your circle,
Mhm.
we don't have to be we don't have to be pitted against each other. It doesn't have to be this competition. It does not have to be this crabs in a barrel approach. And
Right.
certainly, I could never know that a good friend of mine is going through something,
Mhm.
especially something that involves finances, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
If I listen, and I even write about this in the book. Like, my friends have helped me,
Yeah.
right? And we help each other. We help each other. If I have $2, right? That
Mhm.
in my life, that invariably means that me and my friend have $2. I have a dollar, she has a dollar. That's what that means in my world.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about giving away your life savings or whatever it happens to be, right? You said earlier in the show, make sure you are handled first. You have to be in a position of strength, right?
Right.
I'm not talking about incapacitating yourself to the point where then you are no use to yourself or anybody else. We're
Mhm.
talking about using common sense. With all of that being said, I could never imagine, Liku. I could not imagine. I could not know that you were going through something and just be like, oh, she. Now, now, if I try and I try and I try and I try and I try, we're on try number 10 and there's resistance, then I'm like, okay.
Mhm.
But I couldn't know, it can't be time number one. And I know you're going through something and I just leave you there. I can't see you hanging over the cliff and leave you there. I'm like, oh, she'll find a branch. Nope.
Right. I agree with you. I'm the same way. And that's all just, going through again, this journey has made
Hmm.
me realize like, everyone goes through their own stuff and they process it on their own time. And it just impacts how they're going to show up for people. Right.
Mm.
Like both of them were sitting there having that conversation. And, it sounds like they've both been through a recently just transformative personal time, or maybe in the midst of that in
Mhm.
their lives. And that's just, I think it's hard, but having it all has also, or implementing the practices
Mhm.
of having it all has also told me like, or taught me that some relationships you got to let go. Like some
Mm.
relationships might bring you more stress, more harm, more discomfort, more disruption than
Yes.
peace and joy. And sometimes you do have to assess, and this has been really hard for me, particularly with family members. Like, you grow up with people, or people a long time, and then things change. life changes and you're not on the same page anymore, to put it very lightly, right? Because
Yes,
there are
yes.
circumstances, they differ, they're everywhere, whatever. But just, relationships are not going to be the same. And we have to be okay with that, whether we have closure or not. Like sometimes we just need to know, like, this season is ending, it's
Mhm.
time to move forward. And, if that friendship or that relationship comes, back to the surface later in life, then you have the decision as to how to move forward with it or not. But we definitely, we need clarity in our relationships, our best friends, family members, people who are close to us, and impact how we feel every day, because we need to feel good, period.
We do, we do. And I have definitely been on a, I am not sure if it's just a part of my personality and or an
Mhm,
aspect of being autistic or a combination thereof.
mhm,
But I do know about myself. I believe this is my assessment that there can be an element of my being naive with certain relationships or certain people, and there are times where I perhaps give people, more
mhm.
more leeway than perhaps they deserve. But
Yeah.
I genuinely believe in what you and I are talking about, which is soft living, having it all, and really living a happy life. And so I've been taking stock. I've
Mhm,
been taking stock of my friendships, of my relationships, and just deciding who is close circle, who gets fed with a long spoon,
right.
who is cast off the island, and it's okay to make those have those discussions with yourself, with
Hmm.
your God, with your journal, with your therapist,
Yeah.
right? It's okay to have those discussions and make those decisions, because you are right. I can definitely tell how I feel, how my energy feels when I am around people that are not good for me consistently, and you feel bad, you feel tense, your chest is tight, you can barely breathe, you feel anxious after every conversation,
Mhm.
or you're upset or crying, or you start snapping at people that don't deserve to be snapped at because they didn't do you nothing.
Right. Mhm.
Right. But sometimes people really do affect your energy, and so yeah, so protecting your energy and curating your relationships so that you're around people who respect your energy
Mhm.
is very, very important, and that is a very integral part of having it all as well.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, yeah. So my last question, I want really want to ask you two more, but I'm I'm doing my best to not be on CP time every episode.
Yeah. Time flies so much.
Time
Um,
flies, time flies. So, um, for other Black women who
mhm,
are at the beginning of their, like, they're just tuned into this conversation, they've just started listening to your podcast, they've started reading my book, right?
mhm,
Um, what tips do you have for them? Like, what is one step there at the beginning of their having it all soft life journey?
mhm,
Where should they start? And I know that's a big broad question because there's so many different contexts and variables, but
mhm.
where is a good place for them to start in terms of having it all in their lives? Oh,
Pen and paper.
pen and paper. Oh, I love that.
Um, what does it mean to have it all? We
Mhm,
all have to define that for ourselves. So, literally, you have an idea in your head, right,
mhm,
about what it
mhm,
looks like. I think the most helpful, initial step will be to actually write it down, whether
mhm,
it's a day in the life or, just your regular season for whatever you're going through right now. Just like, write, what would having it all look like? What does your ideal life look like? Because if we don't believe that we can have it and we start taking steps toward it, like, those actions aren't anchored to anything. So I would definitely say, like, get it out of your head, write it down, and then from there you can actually see, like, oh, this is what I want it to look like, and then start to say, I can do, this one thing today that will contribute to that. Oh, so and so asked me this question about linking up next weekend. I ain't been feeling too hot about them lately. Maybe I'm gonna decline, right? Like, and feel good about it. So that's what I would say is write it down first, because you have to believe it. So define it for yourself.
Yes. Okay. That is excellent advice. And we're going to log off soon. But before we do, today's affirmation, let me pull this up for everybody. I am giving myself permission to have it all in ways that are fulfilling to me. I'm giving myself permission to have it all in ways that are fulfilling to me. I'm giving myself permission to have it all in ways that are fulfilling to me. So, with that, Liku and I, we are going to go back to our lives where we're having it all in ways that are fulfilling to us.
Yes.
And thank you so much to everybody who has tuned in and joined us here in the comments and, just shared time and space with us. And so remember to tune in every Tuesday live on LinkedIn to catch the vibes. And if you can't make the live show, that's okay. Subscribe to Space to Exhale, the podcast on Spotify and YouTube to catch the replay. And if you want to dive deeper into what we discussed today, definitely check out Liku's podcast, Black Women Can Have It All, now available everywhere, right? And also get a copy of my book, Space to Exhale, like Liku's podcast, available everywhere, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Marcus Book, Wiley, wherever books are sold. Thank you. Listen, y'all, can I just say, Liku,
Yes.
you bought 5 copies, Liku.
I bought 5 copies, and someone DM'd me for a copy too, because she just, she's in a transition, and I'm going to send it to her today.
Oh, that is beautiful.
I bought 5
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, anyway, I have many thoughts about that, but I will. But I appreciate you and thank you so much. And so, yes, folks, to stay in touch, definitely follow Liku and myself on LinkedIn. Check out Liku's website, anasalawfirm.com. Check out my website, spacetoexhalebook.com. And that's where you're going to get updates about all the soft life shenanigans. Goodbye for now. And remember, you are worthy of rest. You are worthy of love. And you are worthy of having time and space to exhale.